Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to this episode on different time frames and which time frame is in charge of the market at that time. When I look for a trade, I always like to scout on my 30 minutes. It kind of helps me see, I can get in and get out of a trade faster. And for some reason, this particular chart or the GSAT gave me everything that I needed for teaching at every single time frame. Even though it's a penny stock, it produced every single signal, which is perfect for this. When I scout, I always make sure that before I get in, it's breaking that resistance, which is right over here where the arrow, the little blue arrow is. Oops. Let's try that again. Little blue arrow, so I'm going to mark it right over here. So before I get in, I want to make sure that it has everything that I like. It's got the Tenkan-sen above the Kijun-sen, which it broke a couple of days back. It's got the green cloud for the future. It's got nothing in the way of chicken span. So this looks like a good trade to get in. So once I see that it broke above it, I want to see what kind of resistance it's going to start running into, because I don't want to buy into a stock and then 2 pennies later I'm already hitting heavy resistance and it's not going to help me. So what I do is once I mark it and see I want to get into this chart, I go up and see what's in its way to see if there's the cloud is above it or anything that can be blocking it. For the 1 hour, I noticed that, man, this thing has got a clear path. There's nothing in its way. Now remember, this is where we are right over here, so we don't know this future yet. So when I saw this one, so I said, like, let me see what the 4 hour brings. 4 hours got the green future. I'm like, man, these are the bigger boys. Now, when you have the higher time frames will always rule over the little time frames. So as the higher you go, the 4 hour will practically trump the 1 hour and will trump the 30 minutes. So this looks like a longer trade than just getting in and getting out in 1 day. So then I said, okay, well, let me find out what's blocking on the daily. And on the daily, it did the same thing. It broke that fractal high and it's just moving. And this is where we will practically be getting into, because that's where we marked on the 30 minutes. So now I'm like, okay, well, is this overbought? Is this going to come back on us and stuff? But those lines are still going up. The Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen are moving up. It's got a future to it. It has nothing that's, it's not inside the cloud. It's not blocking it. So I'm like, all right. And this is when you kind of look at the weekly. I stay away from the weekly normally, but it's one thing that the weekly is really, really good at is giving you those trend lines. If you see the trend line, man, why does it keep doing that? The trend line is working its way down. So for the past, year and a half, this stock has been falling. And then all of a sudden, it broke out of the downtrend. Okay? But what caught my eye is that once it did this, it did like a U shape right here. It got out of this part that was holding it down. It broke above it. Okay? So once it broke above that, I saw that was a good opportunity to get in. So then I'm like, okay, well, when is the next resistance? Next resistance will be right here where the red line is. So it's got a nice run. Even if we get in around 56, 57 cents, it can still run up to almost 70 cents. So if you're looking for that, you're like, okay, there's nothing holding this stock back. The big boys are controlling the market. They are pushing this stock up. It doesn't matter really what kind of signals you're going to be getting on the lower frames. The big boys, the weekly, the daily, the 4 hours, those guys are saying we are moving up for right now. So that kind of helps you see why sometimes the signals don't work too well when you're on the lower time frames. It's because the big guys are pushing the stock up. Okay, so when we go back to the 30, now let's say, okay, I want to go ahead and buy this one because I got some nice push to the upside. We get into the trade, and let's say we buy in. Let me close this up a little bit so it's not so far away. And this is where it would be where we buy in, right over here on this line, because it broke that last fractal high. It got out of that resistance, and in we are. Now we start moving with it. So we buy in. We start looking at what is our signals looking like. Well, we got the 9 above the 50 above the VWAP. It's looking healthy, and we're moving up. But now, start looking down here. You start noticing that you're getting lower lows. It's telling you that the momentum is dying out. but somehow the stock is still moving up. Here we go, back up, volume comes back in, and now we're reaching almost same level. It didn't go anywhere, saying nope. So I'm like, okay, well, it's got to be dying out here pretty soon. And now we're getting even lower lows, but somehow it's not being pushed down, it's still being pushed up. Those higher frames, the dailies and the 4 hours, they control the market. When you got the weekly involved, you are going to get a push, but you have to kind of wait and let the market do its thing. So for some reason, from like 11:45 for the rest of the day, literally I had to sit there and watch this thing like watching water boil. The market did not go anywhere. It just died on me. But because of the bigger time frame, I knew that I was okay, that there was not going to be no pullback to the downside. At least I was hoping, because you never know what the market is going to do. And plus, this gets really hard. So now at the 1 minute, this doesn't work anymore for me. So I have to change to a time frame that things look a lot cleaner. So now I switched over to the 5 minutes, and at least we're a little bit cleaner here, and I'm starting getting my signals. So around almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the market wakes up again, and it starts running to the upside. And then here we go. So now you're getting your momentum going. Now the things that I like, let's say I was not in this trade. Let me go back to the 30 minutes. How I use these, the MACD, the 583. What I do is I get rid of everything. I hold the value, which is the light blue one, and everything else I just turn it off. I don't need anything else because I really don't need that one for anything other for entries in the market. The regular MACD, the 1226.9, is fully loaded. Everything's doing its thing. But what I like about the MACD with the 5 is that every time it spikes down and goes back up, that spike down is when I get in. So let's say this market was moving and I missed it. I don't want to buy when it's so far away. I want to wait for it to come down, do its spike, and as soon as it starts moving up, I'll get in. Okay. Now ignore the fractals for right now. I'm just letting you know how I use the MACD 5. It's like every time it spikes down, it's a good time to buy. It spikes down, it's a good time to buy. It's up here, you wait. It's because you don't want to be buying up here and then the market turns around on you. So it's kind of like my entry of getting in. It kind of helps me time it better. All right, so let's see. I think I mentioned everything. Not everything works, 100% on every, time frame. When the 1 minute was, practically not showing me anything, I moved to a 5 minutes, get a little cleaner on it. If the 5 minutes doesn't work, then you can move up to the 15, which I don't use. I just use the 1 and the 5, and I go up to 30 minutes. Also, notice that every time the market was going through its cycle, I use a TTM squeeze. The TTM squeeze always goes up and it goes down. It goes through cycles. See, it has the up and the down, up and down. But for some reason, for that day of trading, there was no downside. And I saw a couple times where the market's in a squeeze that should have shot down and the market ignored it. I'm like, man, every signal is not working the way it should work because the big boys were controlling the market. And that is why sometimes you see certain things work and sometimes certain things don't work. I was looking at the bigger picture. You have to zoom out away from being on down that 1 minute, get into the bigger charts to see what the stock wants to do, because the big boys always are going to run what they want to, what the market wants to run, and the lower ones, the lower time frames like the 1 minute and the 30 minutes, they're going to do the little pullbacks, which could be 30-50 cents, out of it, but it's like you want to see what the big boys are doing. And now let's say you already know this is going to have to do a little regression before going back up. That's when you get to the 1 minute to either short the market or wait for the pullback to get back into the trade. All right, guys, so hopefully this will help you guys out with trading. See you guys on the floor. Keep making some money.